We're going to go ahead and get into some plastic repair on the VFR project. I'm going to start with some small areas on this main fairing. So stand by and we'll get right to it. Hey folks, welcome back. Going to get on some plastic repair on the VFR. I apologize, I have a fan going. It's hot as blazes out here. Supposed to be getting a tropical storm, I think, by the weekend, and weather seems to be turning already. And here it is only, what, Wednesday? Yeah, that's it. First thing I want to do, though, is I want to show you a couple things that are done to the VFR that you haven't seen before, just as a quick update. Kind of stick it in at the beginning here. They have some rear turn signals now, which are nice. I've had these for a while. I got them from somebody, I think, on one of the Facebook pages. Got 4 of them. 4, count them 4. And they are color black, like unpainted. So they look like, I don't know if they're Honda OEM or just some reproduction, but they came in CMS NL bags. And they're really nice. I paid a lot for them, but they work really well. I just got these standoffs for them, the mounts for them, off of eBay. And they work too. So I got all those wired up this morning. They work. I had to, I painted these, but I just shot them with some Krylon something or other paint and primer mix. It's an enamel, so I'm not worried about it. I would definitely not shoot a acrylic lacquer, because if I went to go over it with something else in the future, that may cause a lot of problems. But an enamel, no problem. Plus, I did a shit ton of prep work, wet sanding the plastic with 800 grit, so got a good tooth on that. And I didn't actually want them to come out perfect, so I kind of went a little lighter on the spray, because otherwise it would really jump out, and it kind of more matches the existing color right now, which is what I really do when I do a refreshing. And right now we're at the refreshing mode, so I don't know, it works pretty well. The other thing I want to show you is down below. I'm going to get you down low. Alright, so naturally you can see I have a center stand. These bikes didn't always come with one, as I'm understanding from the forums and other information like on Facebook pages dedicated to the first gen. I don't know why, but there was no evidence there was ever one installed like anywhere on those holes in the frame where that pivot would go. So I doubt this one ever had one, and it certainly didn't have one when I bought it, but I paid a lot for that too. These things are really hard to get. So what I needed to do was I needed to manufacture something to be a bump stop for where this thing hits. This is the stop for it, where it swings up, and it would come up to here. Otherwise you'd bang against the Super Tramp exhaust. So I ended up machining this. I tried using a band clamp with just a piece of metal, bent in kind of a compound angle with this screwed into it, and I didn't like it. It was flimsy. Plus the band clamp is distracting. So what I did was, you can see here, I took essentially just a piece of 1" by 1" aluminum square stock and put it in the mill, and set to make this radius, this 2" diameter. I just set the fly cutter for 1" off the center to get the radius, and then plunged it downward. So this was standing up in the middle. I squared it up with a machinist square. Just went down with the quill and then cut this radius down the length of it. I forgot the total length here. That gets us nice and flush with the surface, so we don't have to worry about it, doing this. And then I had to guess and just kind of held it up here and made some marks to, kind of mill these compound angles. And then drilled and tapped for an M6. The screw goes up inside there, and then it's pop riveted in. So it actually came out really well, and I'm really kind of happy with it. But I wanted to show you that because there wasn't any other way to do it. And, I over-engineer everything, as you probably realize already. So those are the two things. So let's go ahead and get back to the plastic. And yes, I will eventually paint the side stand. I know it looks like shit compared to the center stand, which looks much better. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is put you in the stand and turn you off for a minute. And I'm going to take this apart off camera and bring this fairing outside and get it good and scrubbed out with some just soap and water. Then we'll come back and I'll show you what we need to do. Alrighty, that's a bit better. Not perfect, but most of it's off. Some of it's actually, deterioration of the painted surface on the inside up in here, and so before you scrub that out, it's really just wearing down to surface below it, whatever is there. So whenever you're going to do something like this, you want to clean them first, because you never really can see any damage or cracks or anything until they're thoroughly clean. So a couple of things that jumped out at me on this one is right here, not a crack, but almost looks like an area that had been previously repaired, but I don't think so. This may just be a feature of the plastic work when it was done originally. I don't know if this is fiberglass or if this is ABS or whatever it is. I don't know. Probably some sort of a fiberglass material or composite. I don't know. Doesn't matter, but I know it's the material that I can use my repair kit on, and we'll go over that here in a second. The main problem with this one, and again, I think I mentioned it before, this is nothing compared to ones I've done before, like the old ZX10 one. That thing was destroyed. We have a tab right here, which is for the upper left windshield fastener. These are one of the two plastic fasteners. These two are metal. They go into speed clips. Go through here and here into speed clips. Can you see that? And this one up here is a through bolt, but they use plastic bolt and nuts, very typical on windshields. The good side essentially is like that, so we're going to have to reproduce that. The other thing we have is a couple of cracks around these holes. See if we can find the one that I wanted to show you. I don't think they're on this side. No, they're not. It's on this, let's see, left side fairing. We have a crack right there. It's not very big, but you can see it right there. There's a crack there. Not very big, but I think the one that's most easiest to see. But I think the one that's most easiest to see is this one right here. Got a crack right there. These are only going to get bigger, and it looks like it may be, this just might be the surface cracking on it. You can see that what's underneath here is, this is more like a gel coat, it looks like, so it could be fiberglass. I don't know how they did this, but either way, we're going to fix these things. So we're going to start on this one. Whoops, we're going to start on this one first. Now the kit I use, let me show you that, because it kind of relates to the different procedures that you can use to fix something like this when you have a missing piece. Okay, don't laugh. This is actually a purchased kit. I didn't make this. This is from a place called Aircraft Spruce. And they do aircraft plastic repair kits, and I think they do a crap load of other stuff too. But here's the address on it. Aircraft Spruce West, Corona, California. I think the reason why I came from there, there is one in Georgia, but they didn't have this in stock there. If I remember correctly. I've had this for several months. Did I already open this? Yeah, I did. And let me show you the contents and the instructions, because that's really important. Yeah. Alright, let me take that stuff out first. There isn't really a lot to this. It comes with, as you can see, little fragments of it. It comes with some, this is a treated mesh fiberglass patch. I still have a bunch left in the other kit. This is my second kit I've had. But it's treated, and it's designed to react and interact, I should say, with the other products that you use here. And I've used this a lot, even with regular super glue. It works really well. Then you have a thing called Polyfill. It's a plastic filling material. We're going to end up using some of this today. And it reacts to the glue, and it gets super hot, and it kind of melts into whatever you're trying to fix. And then it becomes almost like this. It becomes essentially, if you were going to use a patch. Now you can use a patch as well, but in certain applications you can't. Like in this little tab I showed you over here, that'd be very difficult to use that that fiberglass mesh material. So I think we're going to try it just with doing it with the polyfill first, because I do have some material that I can make this out of, I think. This is a this is the big stuff, the good stuff. This is like a super freaking nasty super glue. So this is your basic, not basic, but the cyanocrylate, super thin, caution, bonds instantly, skin or eye, don't pass go, don't collect $200, because if you do, it won't come off. You get it in your eyes, you're going to go blind probably. So it's real, essential to use proper PPE on this stuff, which I will definitely do. The manual is pretty neat here. They got a lot of good information inside here and a lot of safety information, but as you can see here, you have a table of contents on things you can do with this thing. So Polyfix thermal fusion process, that's really what it's called, thermal fusion safety. And you can go down here and let's see, there is instructions for somewhere in here for repairing something, making a piece that doesn't exist, filling holes, attaching broken off pieces. I forgot where it is, but I know there's one in here for it. But we're not going to do that because, again, I think I have some material to do this. So if you're going to get a kit like this, it's imperative to follow the instructions, and I mean exactly. So you have all these different instructions of what to do. Now, I've done this before, so I kind of know what to do. But if you get like a kit from Aircraft Spruce, I highly recommend these kits. It works really well for doing like fairing and plastic repairs. Get the instructions out and follow them, directly, exactly. And you might even want to try it on a piece of scrap fairing or something if you have some other plastic laying around to kind of get used to it. This is actually a hand cream that they recommend you use before you touch any of this stuff, because it helps resist this stuff affecting your skin even with gloves on. They say put this stuff on and then put your gloves on and then work with the product. I haven't had a lot of need for this, but this is really what it's for. It's just really a hand cream. I haven't had a need for it. I just use gloves and it's pretty good. They give you these little finger condoms, which didn't ever work out for me, and a couple of gloves, which are cheap, but I'm going to use my heavy mill gloves I get from Harbor Freight. So, okay, let me get this stuff out of the way, and I'm going to show you what we're going to use to fix this with. First thing we'll do is we'll take the calipers and see how thick this material is at the thickest point, which is going to be about here, I think. I got a good idea what it is already. Yeah, it's about 140 thou, a little over an eighth. And that's what I found on other pieces, because we have a much bigger piece to fix. That's not going to be today. I don't think I have all the material for it. On the left lower side panel, there's a big section that's missing. I'd say probably 4 to 6 inches of it in one particular plane is missing on the bottom of that section. But I wanted to do this on camera instead because it's a relatively simple fix. And it's something I think that you'd come across a lot more often than having to replace big pieces. I'll probably end up filming that one too. I ordered a 1 square foot of fiberglass panel, which is 1/8 of an inch thick. 1/8 is 0.125, and the other piece is 0.135. And as you can see, the thickest part here is 140, so it's roughly the same. I'm not even sure I'm going to use that on the big section, because this is what I got. These are old side panels from some Suzuki, I think a Gixxer. And I got it in a lot of parts I got. And I don't mean a lot of parts. I mean a lot as of L-O-T, a lot of parts. From a customer of mine. In fact, the one that bought the ZX-10. I was thinking of selling these. I think I actually tried on eBay and never sold it. I was about to throw them away, and I said, oh, maybe I can use it. So I'm going to cannibalize a piece of this. And if there's enough of it, we may end up cannibalizing a piece of it for the other part, the left lower panel part as well. But I don't think it's big enough, because I like the fact that it's got a little bend in it, a curve, and we're going to need that for that particular repair. For this one, we just need a little section that's going to go here. I want to pick a spot, and then we'll cut it off, and then we'll get into cutting this down, and then show you how we're going to do this. I'm just going to take an old hacksaw blade and see if I can whack it off. You can use a rotary tool, but you're going to make a shitload of melted parts of it and smoke and other crap that you don't want to be breathing. You know what? I need a bigger piece. Do over. That'll work better. On here too, if you look on the back of this panel, it says ABS. So that's the material this is made out of. And this system loves ABS, this glue and stuff. It loves it. And that's probably what this is. Maybe fiberglass or composite, but it loves that too. So we have two materials that this glue absolutely adores. Now the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to obliterate this and use a whiz wheel with a fine, fine disc on it. and we're going to get this down so we essentially have a right angle here, and bring it back a little bit, and pretty much right down to this surface right here. And there's also a chamfer on the top of this, but we'll add that later. We don't have to worry about doing that right now. We'll match that in later on, kind of blend it. Now if you have something that's got a hole and you need to know where this hole is going to be with your new piece, you want to measure from something to something else, like for example from the edge of that hole to the edge of that hole, write that down, and then you just duplicate that. But I can just use the windshield, plus I got another one over here on this side that is the same thing, so I'm not going to worry about that either. I do have a dimension to the back end. If this was broken off down here, then I can measure that one on the other side, furthest distance, and then measure out here and make that piece that length. But luckily it's only broken in this little tang, or a little hole, a little tab really, where the hole goes. So it's not a terribly difficult repair at all. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up with a needle dick file. Now, using a file on this is not necessarily a really good idea. I'll tell you why, because all your files are probably used on metal and have oil on them. You really should never use a file that's used on oil or metal or anything on plastic, because you can actually embed into the plastic and then impede the bonding of the material. But I've also found that if you take these files and you give them a super good cleaning with brake clean, which I just did, it's okay. They work pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and chance it, because I like to live on the edge. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of clean this up with a file. It is raining cats and dogs now. Like I said, it's only Wednesday. Are we getting this tropical thing already? I haven't even looked at the weather, but anyway, whatever. Now I'm going to take some really coarse sandpaper, and I'm going to start beveling these edges. And I'll explain why here in a minute. What I want these things to be is I want them like how you do weld prep. When you join two pieces of metal together, you got to give a room for the weld material to go to. Otherwise, you have a weld that's not as strong, number one. Number two, it's all proud of the surface. So what we want to do is we want to cut this back. Sandpaper usually works pretty good. I might end up doing it with the whiz wheel. Depends on the material. Yeah, let me knock these back a little bit with the whiz wheel. This is going to take forever this way, but we are going to use this to rough up the other areas of the surface here. This one is not going to be too bad because I already have a little bit of an area there which is part of this, and we can file that away later on so the windshield sits down all the way into it. I'm not really worried about that, but on the back side definitely we're going to put some good angles on it, and then when we make the other piece to join up to it, those will likewise have those angles to them. Alright, here's the fairing side, of course, and I've got that beveled. I got that beveled on both sides, and this is where you use your heavy sandpaper. You want to break that back and get to the parent material underneath any coatings or any paint or something. It doesn't need to be much, just needs to be enough to be a bonding area. And I took the liberty off camera of doing the same thing with, how does this go? It goes like this, I believe. Yeah, with this filler piece that I made. As you can see, I'm going to try to hold it in place. You can see that I do have some angles there, kind of like a wedge shape on both sides. And it is a little bit long and a little bit high, and that's by design because I just want to be able to dial it in once it's repaired. We'll take care of that and put this little radius. You see there's a little radius up here. We'll put that little radius on the tip when we get to that point. We're pretty much ready now to start the actual repair process. So the first thing we want to do is clean everything really good. I'm going to get my gloves on, and I got my breathing equipment, my respiratory protection sitting there. I've been using that when I've been grinding, as far as you know. And we're going to clean everything. I like to use microfibers, even though they're an expensive shop rag. They leave very little residue as far as little particles. And we're going to use brake clean. We're going to soak the rag a little bit with brake clean. We're going to clean everything up with brake clean and make sure this is perfectly spotlessly clean. I'll do that off camera, and we'll come back and get ready to attach this. We're going to kind of, almost like when you tack weld, we're going to kind of tack glue it in place, and then we're going to go through with the final processes. That's it. I got you in a little different position, and I also have the fairing bungeed to a stool now because I'm trying to get this piece this part rather, that I'm going to repair as level as possible, because this glue is super thin, and if you do it vertically, it'll run down and run everywhere. And I know that from experience. Now, there are specific instructions in the manual here how to do vertical surfaces. I'm using the section that's labeled attaching broken pieces, attaching broken off. Oh, it says off. I mean, grammar. Attaching broken off pieces was supposed to say, of course. I don't want you to think any less of this product because it's a little bit almost amateurish looking. It is not. This is the real deal, folks. This stuff is nasty. In fact, I'm going to put my respiratory protection on here, and it's really kind of necessary. I also have safety squints on. You do not want to get this in your eyes. This will smoke. It's at one point when we get to that part of it, and when it does, you don't want to breathe that either. I don't know if you can still hear me, but if you can't, I'm sorry, but that's the way it's going to be. Alright, so I'm going to just speak up a little bit so you can hear me on the mic through this thing. So this is all clean, ready to go. Now the first step in the instructions, and I have the glue all ready to go. This is kind of to tack it in place, but it's also part of the permanent instructions, is you take this activator, spray, and put it on the front side of each piece first. I have this marked with an arrow so I know what direction it goes in, and that's the outside. Second step is to take and get the glue ready. What this is going to do is the activator, you put it on first, the activator is going to make this glue hit immediately as soon as it touches it, and it kind of gives it a tack. So what I have to do here is I have to make sure that this thing is exactly where I want it. And that's what we're going to do right now. Straight and parallel and even. That feels pretty good. I'm going to take a drop of glue, just like that, and it kind of runs down the seam. My finger stuck to it, of course. That happens. It gets hot too, folks. See, it went right through the glove, but it didn't hurt me. It's hot. That's a little off, but we can fix that. You know, we're going to be laying some more material in here, but it is pretty parallel. Next up, we're going to be bringing out the polyfill. I like to use little coffee stirrers with this. It works pretty well, just to kind of grab some. We're going to take this little edge right there, this little, not edge, but this little depression here and here, and after we put some more activator on, we're going to go ahead and pack in some of this polyfill, just on the front side. We'll do the back side separately. Right now, we'll just do the front side. So we're going to put the activator on. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get the polyfill in there, and that wetness kind of helps it seat in there too. You know, kind of stay. And this is a material that gets wicked hot when the glue goes on it with the activator. And it also acts as a filler material, kind of like if you're using Bondo. So you don't want to go crazy with it because it's just more you have to remove later. We're just going to lay a little bit more in. I like to, these coffee stirrers work great for this. Really just want it in the slot for the groove. Alright, now, the next step, we're going to put some more glue on and we watch the show. Alright, here we go. Remember, it's very thin. And it's going to start to smoke. Should. There it is, see it? Get a little bit of smoke coming off of it. You can see that's pretty strong already. Now I'm going to flip this over. You've already seen it once. I'm going to flip this over off camera, and I'm going to do the same thing with the activator and a polyfill on the back side. Then when we come back, we'll take a look at it. Okay, the scary part's over, so I'm going to lose the PPE. Alright, so that's the back side. I went a little heavy intentionally on the polyfill because I wanted to build this up so I can sand it back down. But you can see how hot this gets. You see the discoloration of the material, the top coat, whatever is there. And I did shoot this immediately with my temperature, my thermal temperature gun. And about right there was 135 degrees. So this chemical reaction generates a lot of heat and it makes it almost like a weld. You can see that this thing is on there. You're not going to get that off. So what I have to do now is I have to just kind of blend some stuff in and make it look so it's kind of natural to it. I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera, and then we'll come back and see what the final, the final product is, I guess you could say. All right, we need to do more sanding, but I don't have any other finer grit sandpaper other than wet or dry. I need to go get some. But we sand it down with the really heavy stuff, and you can see this is what we have. So it's pretty lined up. It was a little bit off, but I blended it in with the sandpaper, but that's okay. Remember, this is a structural repair. Whoops, focus. This is a structural repair more than an aesthetic repair, because there's going to be a windscreen over top of it. But, even so, we want to make it as nice as possible. So you can see a little of the polyfill there, and on the bottom where we sanded it in, and it's almost perfectly even. That's close enough. Again, I'll sand it in when I get some more finer progressive grit sandpaper, and we'll blend this all in nice, so it'll be easier to get a little bit of a on it and just kind of touch that up. I'm not going to paint the fairing at this time. We're just going to just this spot right now, and it'll be fine. Whoops! So there's the inside of it. Focus! And you can see that you have the similar lines where the polyfill was. And let's see how strong she is. Now, I'm not going to really crank on this thing, but you can see, you can put a good amount of pressure on that, and she's on there. That ain't going anywhere. And you can see the hole is yay big on that side, and it's kind of oval shaped. I don't know why. Maybe it's so it'll fit different, I don't know, manufacturing variances and windshields. We're just going to make sure we put a hole in it so that windshield goes back on. And if we need to do an oval, we will do that with a Dremel with a carbide burr. So that's what we're going to do with that. Now, how these cracks are going to get done is very similar to what you saw in this video. We're going to gouge out the crack on both sides and simply do that procedure. It's actually a very easy process, because all we're going to be doing is reinforcing two pieces that are in perfect alignment anyway. And we're going to gouge it out probably with a Dremel and a carbide burr very carefully, and then we're going to clean it real good, do the procedure with the polyfill and the the glue, and then we'll build it up a little higher, sand it back, and that will be super strong. I'm not sure if that's just a crack in the, I think that's just a crack in the, what do you call it, the coating or whatever's on here, instead. But there is, I think this one, yeah, you can see this one kind of flexes. So, well, I'm not going to show it on this video because you already saw, this is a real good example right here. You already saw how it gets done. Focus! And so you can see there's a spot right there that is pretty dramatic. Let me see if I can make it, if I go left to right here, make it so you can see it. I think it's cracked through. I don't know, one of them is. But either way, this is where that's how we're going to do it. On a small area like this, in particular, easy. We'll grind that out. We'll fill it with the, put the, the activator. Clean it first, of course. Activator, polyfill, boom. We'll hit it with that material again, because we're going to use the glue, then the polyfill, and then more glue. And that'll be perfectly strong. Sand it back, and then it'll be fine. So that's how we're going to do that. These up here are on the surface, so I'm not going to worry about them. But I just want to mention it because I mentioned earlier in the video about these cracks. But, we pretty much consumed all the time we have on this repair here. So with that, I guess that's enough. I cannot overemphasize the safety aspects of this. This stuff is real nasty. Like I said, it comes in kind of a hokey kit, but don't let that fool you. And don't let little grammatical errors fool you either. This stuff is the real deal. They use it on aircraft. It's like an FAA-approved aircraft plastic repair procedure, and it's definitely the real deal. This stuff is nasty. So PPE, breathing, eye protection, gloves, the whole bit, and you'll be fine. And you definitely want to make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. And when you're putting the polyfill on, although I did have the ceiling fan on, it isn't blowing too much air. You want to take any high pressure or high volume air like a fan and get it, turn it off for a while. Otherwise it'll blow the polyfill everywhere. That's one reason I think why you put the activator on first, which is a liquid. And it smells good too. It's kind of got like a perfumey smell to it. Can you smell that? Here. Yeah, you smell it. And I think that's one of the reasons why they do that, so it'll stick. Now I've taken this crap from my other kit. I got a bunch of it left on my other kit. Not crap. I've taken this product from the other kit and just used it. I didn't even have any more of this glue left. Just used this with regular super glue. And even when I was out of the activator, and I've done repairs that way. In fact, those tabs, well, you can't see them now. Remember I mentioned, yeah, this one here. These tabs here were done that way with just super glue and a little polyfill, and then I sanded them back. And the ones that are under the seat here too, the ones I showed you before, I think in another video or something, I don't know. But this is, really what should happen in a repair like this. The next steps would be to, when you blah, 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 blah. Yeah, number 10 there, you trim a piece that is specially treated matte, half-inch larger than the joint, and you coat that with polydust. You tack down the mat and work small sections of the glue around. So in other words, you take the mat and you put the polydust on it in the activator. Was that the activator? Let's see. Yeah, you spray activator. Yeah, activator, polydust. Where is it? Activator, polydust. Trim the piece. Coat the mat with another layer of polydust. Tack down the mat with like this as you're working the glue in, and it'll really smoke at that point, because that, like I said, that mat is treated with something, probably an activator or a catalyst. But we're not going to use it on this because it's not practical. There's not enough real estate. On the side panel repair, which you'll see in a different video, I very well may use some on the inside of that for strength. I'm not sure, but it depends on how visible it is. I don't want it to look like, a big blob of crap in there. But if, for a piece like that, and I can't explain it, you'll have to see it, but when you do see, you'll understand what I mean. It's going to be a pretty big piece, and probably a 6 or 8 inch or 10 inch long repair line when we get the two sides done on both the repair piece and the actual side fairing. And we may use, I have 2 of those covers, side covers, wherever the hell they went, I don't know. You saw them before. I may be able to squeeze enough material out of one of those side covers to actually do that side panel repair, but we'll figure that out because I do have some other material coming. But as you can see, this is on there. Ain't going nowhere. This product is good. It's a good product. I've used it before, like I've said, and it's been very successful. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope you were successful in learning something, because I'm trying to show you guys how you can do simple repairs like this. This kit ain't that much. It's like, I don't know, $100, $80, something like that. It's not that much at all. And you can do this stuff. Just make sure you're doing it safely, because like I said, this shit's the real deal. And if you do it safely, you follow these instructions to the letter, with the exception of omitting things you just can't do, like we're not going to lay any mat in there, you will be very successful with this kit. As long as you're using materials it's designed for. Fiberglass, ABS, that sort of thing. This, like I said, this is a FAA something or other. He has it in the beginning here. Cessna something or other. It's got a mil spec assigned to it too. 4650C. I mean, this is a good kit, and this is designed for this kind of stuff. So, like I said, if you're got something out of it, definitely leave a comment in the comment section. Don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel. You get notified when I put up some more repair videos like this with this kit, and also ring the bell. Like the video, that helps it out. Helps me out a lot as well. So, till next time, don't just repair, restore. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next video. I'll give you a teaser on that side panel that needs to be repaired. This section right here is completely gone. This should be wrapped around and come down or come around like this. I can't remember the exact shape. I think it comes down like this and then goes back. So it slopes down, comes around, and then comes back down like this. And so this is completely gone. We're going to end up squaring that off, nice and flat, like with use a machinist rule to get it super flat. And then the replacement piece as well, we'll cut the angles in as close as possible. And have to do that repair. This one's going to be a tough one, but it should be fun as well, because again, if we do all the proper prep work, it's gonna work out fine. How I'm going to figure out the size of it, well, you're just going to have to wait for the video to see.